this interview is going to so much better in podcast form because Zoom, who I'm using Zoom, is so glitchy right now between us and the UK. I apologize to anybody watching the video. It's kind of interesting watching the video catch up to the audio, but the audio is perfect. So that's good. So it's going to be a really good podcast. So we have this is the Thursday night, 5 a.m. Mester Scrum program, or on Thursday nights, we interview people in the Agile space and business world and get ideas and get to know them and see how they can help us in our careers and what we want to do. And today I have Rachelle Williams. Rachelle Williams is an Agile coach, businesswoman who recently posted on her journey to land a new Agile coach job. And that's one of the things that got me to, I should interview you, see how it went. And I was eager to get her on the show. And Rachelle brings years of experience from a Scrum Master and Agile coaching to the table. This interview is not the classic interview, but it's about that we know Agile business. How do we do this? Give me 5 steps. Tell me what to do. It's about getting to know Rachelle, her journeys, her career seeking, and people that may help people and teams around the world. So before we dive into our discussion, Rachelle, can you share something in your background journey that's maybe not in the LinkedIn profile per se? And
Yeah,
introduce yourself too. Don't forget to introduce yourself a little bit.
perfect. Thanks so much, Greg. So yeah, excited to be here. I'm really happy to be talking with you today, and thanks for reaching out to suggest this conversation. I'm hoping that it can help some people out there. So yeah, a bit about myself. So yeah, I'm Rachelle Williams. I'm currently self-employed as an Agile coach, and have been for almost 2 years now. Prior to that, I was working in consulting, so started my career in consulting and did almost 8 years in consulting, kind of primarily in the Agile space. So, as Greg mentioned in the intro, kind of starting as a Scrum Master and then transitioning to Agile coaching, kind of leading an Agile practice for my previous consultancy, and then also naturally working with clients across a range of different industries. So, oil and gas, pharma, retail, media, defense, and now manufacturing. So yeah, I'm an avid traveler, as people will see on my LinkedIn. Have recently returned from a year and a half trip to 21 countries and 3 continents, which I absolutely loved, and we can talk a little bit more about that as part of today. And I love running. So running for me is my exercise of choice. But it's also a great mental release for me. So if I've had a hard day, like going for a run will always shake it off, and kind of, help kind of get me ready for the next day. So I'm actually currently training. So something that you won't see on my LinkedIn profile. I'm currently training for Amsterdam Marathon,
Oh, good
which
for
is
you.
in yeah, which is in October. So this will be my second marathon after
Wow.
running London Marathon in 2018. So there's a bit of a gap between my last one, but I'm really excited about this one.
You're from the UK. I'm like, I
Yes.
went through this whole
Sorry. Yeah.
thing. Everyone get the hint, we get the accent, we get the London marathon and everything like that. So it will keep us going.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. I live in
so
London, so for
you
a bit of
live in
clarity.
London proper,
Yeah.
okay? So I live in Philadelphia. Big city people here we got going here. All right. Rochelle, could you please share some of your journey from consultant to running your own business as an agile coach? What about your connections? How do they help at first before you took, I know you mentioned you took some time off, and how they help you get going?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, yeah, as I mentioned, I started as a consultant. So I was working for kind of consulting companies for almost 8 years, and realized the thing that I enjoyed the most was ultimately working one to one with my clients, building that relationship and building that rapport. And I realized I was good at it. I was building kind of really good rapport with my clients, and kind of clients were, wanting to work with me again rather than, necessarily kind of the brand. It was more like, we're buying you, Rochelle, and people kept saying that to me. So I thought, why not try this kind of self-employed, running my own business method? And luckily for me, I actually knew I was going to be traveling in a year's time. So because of the pandemic, we had to delay our trip. Like we had this passion of wanting to go away for a year, but we had to delay it because of the pandemic and the world just wasn't open. So in 2022, we 2021, sorry, we knew we were going to travel in 2022 once the world was kind of sorted a bit. So it kind of gave me a year's experiment of let's just try self-employment, rather than putting the pressure on myself of, going contracting and going, this is it and it has to work. I had a year's experiment because I knew I was going traveling for a year. And I kind of figured, try it for a year. If it doesn't work out, then I'll work something else out. But absolutely loved it, kind of my year of contracting. And yeah, kind of didn't look back. And ultimately, my first two clients that I got kind of whilst contracting during that year were directly from my network. And both of those were kind of people that I had worked with before. So for my previous kind of clients who had basically moved elsewhere, so had moved to a different company. So I was actually able to then work with them, and kind of I contacted them saying, I'm going contracting, I'm going kind of self-employed. Do you want to work together? And yeah, two different people said yes. So they were my first two contracts. And
So I got a little bit, and I want to get into where you travel in the world, but I got a question for you as you were talking. Kind of different in the European world where people maybe take a year off or go traveling for a year. Doesn't quite happen here in the States. Is it something that the Europeans are used to going for a place for a year? Is there a fear of being able to get a job back after if you go on a sabbatical or you travel for a year, or is that kind of baked into the mentality?
yeah, so it's a really good question. And actually, England is very similar to the US in that sense, in terms of there is a big fear around taking time out of work. So when we kind of shared the drive, the goal that we had to go traveling for a year, everyone in our immediate network, so our family, our friends, thought we were crazy. They were like, you've got
Okay.
successful careers. Why are you kind of giving up your careers? And ultimately, for my husband and I, we regretted not doing it after uni. So the big thing that everyone tends to do in the UK is take a gap year after university. So you go to uni, you do a gap year, and then you go off into your working world. Um, Not everyone does that, but it's quite common for people to do that if you are going to take a year's traveling. And me and my husband kind of regretted never doing it because, yeah, we just wanted to get into our careers and have amazing careers. And there was just constantly this niggling feeling of we were going on multiple holidays a year, but we just never really felt like we were going deep enough into the countries. Like we were traveling through them, but we're not in them, like, and
Yeah.
truly experiencing them. So yeah, and then the pandemic obviously happened, and we were like, life is short. You have no idea what's around the corner, and none of us knew that that was coming. So that really was a big push for us to go, yep, this is happening. Like we're gonna do it. So that was kind of our motivation factor. Everyone thought we were crazy, and yes, like it was a big risk. Kind of we're both self-employed, so it was a big risk to kind of go traveling and kind of find jobs when we get back, but it's
Yeah.
paid off for both of us, and we've
So,
we've both
so it
found
was
contracts.
definitely worth it going deeper
100%.
on your travels, right? And with that,
Yeah.
is there any, what were your best places you went and visited during your year abroad?
Yeah, absolutely. So we went to three continents, Central America, South America, and Southeast Asia. And Latin America, so Central and South were just our favorite continents in terms of just the culture, the community, everything about it. People were just so grateful for us being there. Like, people genuinely said, "Thank you for coming to my country," especially kind of Colombia and Argentina, because they're known for kind of potentially being quite risky, but we didn't experience that. Everyone was so welcoming and so happy for us to be there, and it was just beautiful. But yeah, some of the highlights were seeing the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador. All of the animals there is just insane and just beautiful. Learning Spanish in Mexico, so right at the start of our trip. So that kind of meant that, we're able to then use Spanish, kind of travel Spanish,
Okay.
for the rest of 9 months of traveling through Central and South America. And we lived with a family as well whilst we were learning Spanish, and that was just amazing. Uh, as well as having kind of Day of the Dead festival as well in Mexico, which is great fun.
That would be neat. That would be
Yes.
something I would love to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. There's nothing quite like it. The culture around it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Kind of how they, celebrate those that have passed on, and it's really, really a nice culture. And then yeah, just Argentina. We loved everything about Argentina: hikes, wine, and penguins in a highlight.
There you go.
Yeah,
So now let's bring it all closer to time here.
yeah,
Um, you started there to reconnect, and after you did your trip abroad, and then you're looking for an agile coaching position. Would you share some of the stats from your LinkedIn post that you put in that post? You put a bunch of little stats, how many places you went, meetings and meetups and all that. Can you share some of that
yeah, sure,
went into that?
absolutely. Yeah, so basically I kind of made my kind of job search like very kind of structured. I had kind of a spreadsheet, and I was very kind of focused around kind of uh, growing my brand and doing lots of LinkedIn kind of things. So I was able to kind of track my stats because I had that spreadsheet behind it. But ultimately, during the 3 months that I was looking for my kind of next agile coach opportunity, so it
Mm-hmm.
was 3 months from the point of kind of looking for work, like after landing and then securing my contract that I'm in now. And it included 38 conversations, so not including those at kind of agile conferences or meetings. So 38 conversations over phone or a coffee with people. 19 reach outs with no reply. So I think this is key in terms of I was reaching out to people and they weren't replying, but I wasn't there, and that's kind of stopped me. It just has to happen. 22 reach outs with no opportunities. So again, wasn't that letting that kind of dishearten my feelings. It's a numbers game. You've just got to keep reaching out. And then yeah, had 7 agencies and consultancies on the book, so I could hopefully find a contract through agencies or consultancies, and 2 kind of recruiters that I was working with as well. But primarily it was all through LinkedIn, kind of reaching out to my network, growing my network, and yeah, and then ultimately all of this led to one secured contract.
There you go. So you mentioned you had an agent. Now, were those agencies specialized in just full time placement, or was it something that they work with from a business perspective, or knew you wanted that, or is it just any agency and open the
Um,
door?
Yeah, so kind of consultancies, really, kind of agencies, consultancies that would support their business through contractors.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool. All right. So now in addition to all that work, I know you did meetups. You did a lot of
yeah.
meetups. You joined, attended some meetings. What's the best thing about meetups? Would you recommend to anyone looking for a position, a career about doing the meetups? How would you recommend that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, kind of what I didn't mention in the stats was I included or I attended 13 meetups
Hmm.
in the kind of 3 months that I was looking. And ultimately kind of these were just kind of a good opportunity to meet either face to face with people if they were in person meetups. Some of them were, and then or similar to this, be on Zoom calls on kind of meetup.com. Um, and it was just kind of a good opportunity to do a bit of networking, so expand my network. And I always made sure for the in-person ones I had my LinkedIn ready to expand my network. And then also just learn about some topics as well, see what because I'd been out for a year and a half, see what people are talking about now, see what people are presenting.
Good point.
And meetups are, they're free kind of 9 times out of 10. So there's no financial input into them, but you're able to kind of learn something. So you're not kind of fully committing to a training course, which could be quite expensive. But you're seeing kind of what people are talking about, and it kind of helped me then kind of focus on, where might I want to upskill or remind myself of, or that kind of thing. Um, and kind of the Agile London ones were great because they were kind of in person, and you can kind of have 3 speakers during the session, and yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I even did a meetup for a hiking kind of meetup as well, which was where on meetup.com discovered that there was a group for hiking, and I was able to just go on a random hike with some random people because I had a free Saturday.
Wait, yeah, and that's cool. Um, I think in the meetup, as I was listening to you talk about the meetups and the benefits I had looking for a job, was that the meetups give you an opportunity to meet different people that weren't in your office or your immediate grouping, right? So you talked about conferences and everything, and you just mentioned Agile London, and you mentioned volunteers. Could you please share how volunteering had its benefits? What did you like about it? What kind of work involved as far as volunteering for that event? What were the benefits from that?
So alongside meetups, I also attended Lean Agile London, which is a conference. So a bit different to a meetup. It's 2 solid days of attending kind of talks and that kind of thing. And I actually got the opportunity through reaching out to through the kind of hosts of the conference. I got the opportunity to volunteer to ultimately kind of, I guess, work for 2 days, and then kind of attend the conference that way. And I absolutely loved it. Like the energy of being there, part of the kind of volunteering group was just amazing. We all had orange t-shirts on, so you knew who the volunteering crew were. Schedule of which talks we were going to go to. Because then we got an opportunity to also say which talks we wanted to go to. So then the organizers took that into consideration as well. And then for those talks, we were there to kind of make sure the room was ready before the talk. And then after the talk, make sure that we collected the feedback cards and then gave the feedback into the organizers so that they kind of got them all together and made sure we had feedback. And their method of doing feedback was on paper cards. So you have like red, yellow, and green. And then you physically handed it in. So it kind of made sure that you actually did the feedback there and then, rather than forgetting about it and wanting to do the feedback later. It was just a great opportunity. And, I spoke to so many more speakers as part of being a volunteer because I had that orange t-shirt on, and I was instantly able to kind of, speak to them. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I think as a coaches, we facilitate a lot too, so we get to see how all that's assembled together. It goes into that future bank of information, knowledge, and like you said, I think it broke that awkwardness and meeting someone who's a speaker because you were part of the event. So that's cool. Good points. And you said you got to go for free, right?
yes, yeah, it was part of offering to kind of
Extra double
volunteer.
bonus. Sometimes you get to go for free for
Yes,
volunteering. So that's
yeah, so
cool.
a really good
Um,
opportunity.
what kind of training did you do in preparation for your future position? Because you mentioned how long it took to get the new job. Maybe how do you see upskilling? How does it play a role in landing that future position?
Yeah, sure. So, one training course I did 3 training courses in total. One of them was training from the back of the room, and that was, it was a certification course that's been on the back of my mind for a while in terms of wanting to do, because I facilitate a lot of training sessions. Facilitate a lot of workshops, and kind of I decided that in terms of a certification would be a great one to kind of do, to ultimately, help me in my role. And I'm literally using it now with my contract. I'm running training sessions with my new contract. So I'm able to use techniques from that session, like, now with my first contract, since getting back. So that's amazing. And Also did OKR creator course, and that was kind of an opportunity through my network. And yeah, similar for training back of the room, that was through Ben Maynard, who I've kind of attended a few of his training sessions as well. So yeah, like
Cool.
just kind of a good opportunity to do training. And then also did kind of branding, kind of brand building training course with Chris Stone, which I can talk about in a bit as well, which
Okay.
really helped kind of in my networking.
This interview is going to so much better in podcast form because Zoom, who I'm using Zoom, is so glitchy right now between us and the UK. I apologize to anybody watching the video. It's kind of interesting watching the video catch up to the audio, but the audio is perfect. So that's good. So it's going to be a really good podcast.
Yep.
Lastly, on the job show front, anything you want to share about your LinkedIn growth success, landing a position, things that worked in LinkedIn, didn't work in LinkedIn. You know, I really like the level of details you went through, all the interviews you went through, and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So, linked to the previous question, one of the training courses that I actually did over 12 weeks. So, it was an hour per week. And it was the brand building course that Chris Stone led. And that was just kind of amazing to kind of have that weekly touch point to ultimately give me ideas in terms of how to, and, the other attendees, how to build our network and how to kind of be more visual and be more out there on our LinkedIn to ultimately help us, find jobs. And yeah, like through that kind of training course, kind of noticed that the power of LinkedIn was key. And ultimately, kind of during that time, it kind of encouraged me to set the goal of regularly posting. So before that, I hadn't really been posting much at all, or, once every couple of months, if that. And because of that course, and because of the motivation that I had, it inspired me to do 40 LinkedIn posts like over the 3 months that I was looking. So on average, it was kind of about 2 or 3 a week. So it wasn't, masses of work. It did, take me to kind of think about each of the posts and what I was going to put into it. And yeah, have the nervous kind of opportunity of pressing enter. But yeah, kind of did 40 LinkedIn posts. And through doing kind of that regular posting, it enabled me to grow my LinkedIn followers by 30% and my connections by 20%, which is awesome. I don't think I had many followers at all. It was just connections completely before. So it's awesome to kind of grow that.
Cool.
And 3 of my posts actually reached over 20,000 impressions and
Wow.
over 30 comments, which was really cool.
Well,
Kind of,
that's pretty good. Are
yeah, I
you
had
still
the feeling
posting
of,
every day?
uh,
Or how often do you post normal? Now that you have
so
your position, how often?
yeah. So during the 3 months, it was 2 or 3 a week.
Okay.
Now it's one a week,
Okay.
if that. Yeah. So it's
Okay.
definitely reduced now that I've got a full-time job. But it's constantly in the back of my mind of I need to, do more posting to keep my network going. Just because I have a job right now, I need to
Prepare for
keep it
the next
going.
spot, right? Next
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
You always gotta get that habit in there.
Yeah.
Um, so now finally you landed a new coaching, agile coaching. Could you share some of your experience in that first week or two of the new position? What it's like?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So yeah, so I've landed a 6 month contract, agile coaching, and ultimately I'm coaching kind of two key areas. One that's one team, and then so one self-contained team. They're a cross-functional team, and then the other area is actually a scaled set of four teams. So I've kind of having to think a little bit differently in the two areas that I'm coaching. But yeah, it's great. It's bringing some challenges. I'm learning every day and. Yeah, very busy, hence why I'm not posting as much on LinkedIn. But yeah, it's good. It's good to kind of it's a new industry as well, manufacturing. I haven't worked in manufacturing before, although some of the technologies that they're using are similar to other industries that I've used. So yeah,
Okay.
able to kind of use that experience. And I'm getting to use my training from the back of the room skills that I learned on that course, like
There you go.
whilst I was looking. So
They threw you into the wolves right from the get go, I guess.
yeah.
And then lastly, how can people connect to you? And do you have anything else going on that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, sure. So LinkedIn is very much kind of, yeah, my area of reaching out to me. So do feel free to kind of connect or reach out. I love kind of connecting with people, having conversations. So yeah, if anyone wants to chat, like, would love to. I'm actually attending Agile Finland in August,
Oh, nice.
which is a unconference format. So it's 2 days. I haven't been before, but I've seen it on LinkedIn and it looks great. So I've bought a ticket. And it's basically 2 days where they have slots where, a subject or a couple of subjects is going to be covered, but those attending the session will ultimately facilitate sessions based on what they think of on the day, and then you get the opportunity to vote. I've done similar sessions with Tobias. He runs kind of a Scrum kind of clinic thing twice a year, which is also the unconference format, and it's great. The energy that people bring, and it's like, oh, I'm just going to on the fly facilitate this session, is a really good opportunity. So when I saw Agile Finland, I was like, great tick, kind of unconference format, really good kind of energy, and it's in Finland, which is a country that I haven't been to before. So ticks my
Okay.
two passions. Um, and then yeah, so I'm actually looking to, because I've attended a few conferences this year, and doing this as well, talking with yourself, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually hoping, I've set myself a goal to hopefully in the next year kind of talk at a conference. So if anyone thinks I'd be good for their conference, give me a shout.
Well, you can do our meetup if you want to get a practice doing something. We'll have you host it. Yeah, it's usually about 10, 15 people somewhere around there, but then we put it up on social media. So you may think
Amazing.
you're in a
Yeah.
small world, but then it goes out live. I think sometimes half the people just send an attendant live in the social media world rather than join the Zoom conversation. And speaking of Zoom, Rachelle, I want to thank you for putting up with the Zoom glitchiness today. I know Zoom had put out some updates over the week because I've heard that all through my clients that I'm working with. Yeah, Zoom is rebooting. Zoom is doing this. So hopefully it
Uh,
wasn't too bad. But I have it all recorded, so it'll be good. And like I said, I love the audio was perfect. So, well, thank you, Rachelle, for coming out and joining us and sharing your stories and your adventures of going away for a year, getting your consulting working, getting back into the agile coaching world, and going full blast. I mean, I loved your, like I said, your post. So you're gonna have to do a post on the unconference format from Agile Finland, right? Isn't that what you said, Agile Finland?
Absolutely.
So
Yes. Yeah. Watch this space.
and I'll put a link into the social media to your profile so people can find you. So we'll be all looking forward. Now the pressure's on.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah,
do a
I will do
post,
it.
right?
Yes, yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed talking with you today. And,
well,
it is tough out there, but I'm just hoping that kind of sharing my journey might help, like, at least someone, if not a few people, just to kind of, put the motivation out there to just keep going, keep reaching out, even if people don't reply, just keep networking.
yeah, thank you, Rochelle, for coming on board and appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay.